Questioning America's heroes. Congresswoman Jackie Speier writing to President Biden saying the government needs to screen the social media posts of military recruits.
Joey Jones knows the courage it takes for our service members to put their lives on the line for this country, as he did himself. The retired Marine Corps bomb tech joins us now to respond. Joey, good to see you this morning. I'm going to go ahead and read a portion of this letter right now, and this reads, quote, "I call on you to issue an executive order identifying white supremacy and violent extremism as a critical threat. Perhaps most importantly, DOD and the U.S. government at large are not effectively screening service members and other individuals with sensitive roles for white supremacist and violent extremist ties." What is your reaction?
Well, first off, so I don't mince words here and make myself a public enemy, let me say that I fully condemn white supremacy and any type of extremist views, and hopefully people understand that. But on this topic specifically, you know, our military in this country, America is a country of opportunity, but it's also a country of second chances and learning and growing. And when you go into the military, if you're a gang in an inner city or a narrow-minded redneck in rural South, the military is a place to become indoctrinated and become a better person. I mean, that's what we do. We go to boot camp and we learn that there's more than the small world we're from, and we learn to appreciate people for more than whatever identity they may have or background they may have. And I still have faith in that to work exponentially. So it's not that I take a big issue with people who might have ties to an actual group being reviewed and screened out of the military. It's the idea that some vengeful congresswoman or congressman might try to pass a law that if you've ever put a racist joke on Facebook at 15 years old, you don't have the capacity to become a better person and an honorable man or woman in the service. And that's a giant leap from one to the other. And it seems like that's where we're headed. And that really bothers me. And I would say the same for someone who, you know, posted in support of bin Laden when they were 14 because they wanted to make people shock and awe. Right. Those kinds of things happen, and they're worth a conversation maybe, but to screen people out because of it doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
Meantime, Joey, AOC continuing to shock and awe, appearing to criticize the Capitol Hill officers trying to help her as she recounts her experience of the riot. Take a listen.
He was looking at me in all of this anger and hostility. And at first, you know, in my brain and in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, I just came from this super intense experience just now. Maybe I'm reading into this, right? Like maybe I'm projecting, like something onto him. And we couldn't even tell, we couldn't read if like this was a good situation or a bad situation.
Joey, 45 seconds on this last answer. What would I have seen had I looked into your eyes during a tense combat situation?
You would have seen someone that will die defending you, and I might not have been smiling and offering you a rose in the meantime. Let me not mix my words here either. If she had irrational and unwarranted thoughts, that's her problem, not the police officers. That man helped save her life, or in that moment thought that's what he was doing, and she should thank him and maybe go get help for whatever trauma is in her life that caused her to react that way, because it is absolutely irrational, and that's not how we treat people that come to our aid. And it's quite disgusting that a member of Congress would put this out there in a way that seems to suggest the rest of the country should understand why she felt that way and change what we do. And literally the look on our faces. If you haven't seen the movie Step Brothers, maybe she has some identity with one of the character on there that says, man, there's just something about your face I don't like. Because that's all I heard from her, and that's irrational. That's not how we treat each other, and it's a little bit disgusting, actually.
Joey Jones, thank you for joining us. As always, thank you for your service, my friend.